some news of the day where those of you who have been with us for a long time, you know, Kyle in the tailgate knows Arch Manning. Buddy, I thought that we on the Cover 3 podcast can have probably a little bit more of a nuanced conversation about this, because there's some levels to it that can get inflammatory and, seeking attention. But Danny, because I'm sure y'all have talked about this on the radio show.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Arch Manning, according to multiple reports, has opted out of being a part of NCAA football 2025, which will launch this summer. EA Sports College Football 25, which will launch this summer. We discussed when the game was coming back whether we would see players opt out. Arch Manning does appear, according to multiple reports, to be one of them. What part of this stands out to you as sort of the most interesting in terms of how it reflects on Arch, or even as the video game as a whole?
Oh, by far my favorite aspect to this is the reports that it's a distraction. That
Thank you.
He is so focused on the playbook and his job as the Texas Longhorn quarterback that he doesn't want any distractions coming out. It's funny because I think one of the first things when this news came out, I texted the Cover 3 group chat and I said, how many guys do you think will sign up? I said $600 sounds kind of cheap. And Bud was like, I think he was the first one to respond and said, nobody. They'll all opt in because they don't want the negative backlash. Like everyone opts in, over 10,000 players opt in. Do you get crushed by the fans that all want to play with you? But I was curious to see if there would be a name like this. And really, looking at the name of returning quarterbacks, looking at the name of returning players, there's not a brand that's returning that's bigger than Arch Manning, and he hasn't played it down. So I think this is about the money and him saying, you know what? I might be worth a lot more than everybody else. Let me wait and see what happens after a year. Maybe I can get to command the big bucks. I wonder if there's still a chance that he does opt in, if there's a dollar sign that does get up there that makes it more attractive for him. But I was surprised there weren't a few more names, and Arch Manning's the only one that we've really heard about so far.
I mean, obviously this analysis could change if somebody does opt out who's not named Arch Manning. But I kind of look at it as the Manning family has really carefully managed Arch's entire recruitment. Like, he didn't do a lot of camps. He didn't go to a lot of stuff. They kind of kept him, very private, didn't do a lot of interviews. They don't want him like getting a bunch of publicity. And my thought is like, they don't want him, if he doesn't hit, to get this bust label, right? The overhyped bust label. Like I legitimately here, Arch has done, and the Manning camp has done very little to drive the hype on Arch, other than just be a really good prospect.
It's all Chip Patterson.
Yeah, right. I actually think that they're really just trying to keep it about football. Like what's the dollar figure that might matter to Arch Manning? I mean, would you do it for 10,000? No. Like, the Manning family has hundreds of millions of dollars. There's not really a dollar figure, I don't think, that would make it worth it for him to opt in and also make it worth it for EA. So I do think this is just, let's keep him out of the spotlight. Let's try to have some semblance of a normal college experience for a guy that's like, the most famous player ever.
What?
You don't want everybody like posting all these clips of them benching Ewers and putting Arch in. I don't know. I kind of buy it because the money thing to me doesn't make sense. So my mind goes to like what might make sense.
What's more of a distraction? Opting in like everybody else and you're a part of the masses and you're just another guy, or you opt out? That to me is then misplayed by them if they thought it was just going to be, oh, I don't want to be, because I get what you're saying. I totally agree. They've done a phenomenal job, but that would be my counter. Like, we are talking about this. I don't think we're talking about it if he's one of the 10,000 that just views himself as another player. I think this makes it more of a conversation starter, and does, whether we know the details of truly why he opted out or not. I think the backlash is it appears on the outside that he views himself as worth more than everybody else, even if that may not be the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there really backlash though? Like, I don't know.
For a week,
I
maybe
think,
a couple days.
Yeah. I mean, it's a news cycle. We're talking about it because it's March 6th and there's really nothing else to talk about. And we're all just excited about the game. I really don't think it matters. I think another thing too, but like you mentioned, part of it, the distraction quality of it is, people benching Quinn for Arch in the game, or what happens the minute like you're playing the game and oh, look who's popped in the transfer portal. You don't think that's going to be all over social media? It's like, oh, Arch is transferring in NCAA 25. It's like, it's just going to be a nonstop barrage of that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I think it's a little overprotective of the Manning family if they're indeed being true and that they're just trying to quiet down the hype. I don't know if this is the best way to go about it. I don't think at the end of the day it's a big deal. I think it's just a video game and everybody's going to be in it either way and everybody realizes it's a video game. But I don't think it's for money because I don't really think Arch Manning comes from a situation where he's in desperate need of getting money. And that doesn't mean, people who have money aren't trying to get more. We're always trying to get more. It's just I don't think that's the ultimate motivating factor here. I think Arch Manning is going to get what he wants if he wanted the money. I mean, isn't it true? Like he's not really doing NIL deals either. Like, does he have any
I've
NIL
heard
deals?
I've heard conflicting reports on that.
The only one that's official is with Panini for the trading card. Like a very like traditional trading card NIL deal is the one that his camp has boasted as like, we're not taking big NIL deals. We've got a trading card deal. We like that. If Quinn Ewers goes pro, I think he's in the game. I think that this is a managing that quarterback room situation. And it is just about the like, okay, we're going to be looking at this all even though Quinn Ewers is the established starter, even though we're going to talk about Quinn Ewers as one of the top quarterbacks in the game going into fall camp. Okay, well, how does Arch look? Oh, the game came out. Well, what's Quinn's rating and what's Arch's rating? And continually creating another avenue for fans and people outside of that program who are not in that locker room to try and create controversy where it might not be there. So I think that Quinn's decision to come back had to play at least some factor, because if Arch is the undisputed QB1 for the Texas Longhorns, sure, why not opt into the game? Like it to me seemed almost like a team move, as much as anything else, where is it going to be a distraction for Arch specifically? Maybe not. I mean, as somebody who was close to Arch Manning once, not that I know him personally, that I was literally like 10 feet from him for about 20 minutes one time on one day. But I mean, he does seem to really enjoy his parents and his family have instilled in him these simple joys of playing football. Like Danny, you and anybody else who's played football at a high level talks about the camaraderie with your teammates and like all of the things, like you just want to be out there with your guys playing football. I don't think that Arch Manning is a salesman enough at this point in his career for that to be fake. That does seem to be what he wants to do. And if there was any belief that this was going to create any kind of division in the quarterback room or any problems for the chemistry of the team or the offense, $600 ain't worth it. You can come back. Guess what? He'll be in the game next year. And then you can be QB1 and maybe even on the daggum cover.
Question for you.
Yes.
If he beats out Ewers or if Ewers gets hurt, does he then opt in?
I don't know.
Like, because it sort of feels like they're selling it as he hasn't really earned it. Like there's no reason to be in the game as a backup type thing, which I get. I'm not saying it's the right move, but like I do think that's sort of the methodology behind it, because like $600, like there's no amount that EA could pay. I think it would make it worth for Arch to be in the game, because it's not like people won't buy the game if Arch is not in the game. Like he's not an integral part. He's the most famous player in college football by far, but he's not the most integral part of college football. Like it's not a make or break thing if Arch Manning's in the game. So if he actually earns that starting role, does he opt in midseason?
See, that's one. I mentioned at the end of Monday's show that I had a take that I was going to save. And I didn't even mention to you guys after the show because we got talking about work stuff. But my brain might be poisoned right now because I have spent so much time kind of watching quarterbacks as far as projecting them to the NFL. And it's not really functioning as just evaluating them as college QBs. But watching like Quinn Ewers last year, are we that sure that Arch Manning won't be the starting quarterback at Texas before the season ends? Because I don't know. Quinn's running the offense, but like the zip on the ball just does not seem to be there right now. And I don't know if that's like a result of the broken collarbone last year or what, but it's a lot of lofted passes to the outside and just deep shots. It's just, I don't know. It's like, I don't think Quinn Ewers is as solid of a starter as we're all just assuming.
We're going to talk about a team coming up in spring, but I'll tease this. who is more likely to keep the starting job? Jalen Milroe or Quinn Ewers?
Quinn Ewers.
Quinn
so,
right
too.
now, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they both lost. Went to a playoff game and lost the semifinal game. Like that's.
I get what you're saying, Tom. There's been flashes. I think the consistency has probably been the biggest issue with Quinn Ewers with me. Like he's been really solid at times and he's been up and down. Like in the Oklahoma game, he brought him back. Like he started off so bad with a couple interceptions, but then he started kind of slinging around, was more impressive. But yeah, the top tier thing we don't truly know is what Arch Manning's got in that top tier. Like he's been projected and he's supposed to be that upper tier arm talent, but we haven't seen it on the field yet. I'll tell you this. Quinn Ewers got to stay healthy. He hasn't done it in 2 years starting. Other quarterbacks have gotten opportunities, so you would expect Arch Manning will play somewhat this year if the trend continues.
He doesn't get the first into throws. It drives me insane.
Yeah.
One final thing on that. Matt Brown, who does the Extra Points newsletter, does a very good job with it. He offered this insight, and he has been sort of close to this EA Sports college football game process for a long time now. He said, I would be wary. I'm paraphrasing here, Matt. I apologize. He said, I would be wary of any reports like this about players who are opting out this far in advance of the actual deadline, and that there still could be, to your point, an opt-in later that totally reverses it and makes all of the hand-wringing moot. But it's definitely something to know that while Colorado's Travis Hunter, Georgia's Carson Beck, Alabama's Jalen Milroe, Oregon's Dylan Gabriel, and Texas's Quinn Ewers, according to EA Sports, have all opted in at this time, according to Orange Bloods, ESPN, and others. Arch Manning has opted out.
Those guys all need to continue to build their brand for marketing purposes. Like Arch Manning is way more famous than Travis Hunter is, or than Carson Beck is, right? And I don't think any of them came from families that have like hundreds of millions of dollars,
and also have their own production company.
Yeah, it exactly. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think back to recruiting camps of like, okay, who are they with at the camp and what did they drive? And I don't think any like there were no Bentleys being driven by Carson Beck's dad or by Travis Hunter's. I think it was his grandma who was with him.
What a great differentiator from the.
Isn't Carson Beck driving a nice car now, though? I remember reading a story. What's he driving now?
That's the thing is those guys, if their agents would tell them, hey, it's not about the money now. It's about like becoming somebody's favorite player who you grew up playing with in this game. And they'll buy your jersey 5 years down the line. It makes you more marketable. Arch Manning doesn't need that. He's already a lot more famous than those guys.